Got breaking news overnight from the Boy Scouts of America. One of the most cherished institutions of the 20th century is now struggling to survive. The organization, which has about 2.2 million youth members and 800,000 volunteers, is filing for federal bankruptcy protection to prepare for a potential avalanche of sexual abuse cases. Tens of millions of other Americans have been part of scouting over the past 110 years. Errol Barnett has been covering the story and spoke to a former scout who says he was abused. Errol, what is this bankruptcy filing all about? This is very unnerving to hear this about the Boy Scouts.
Certainly. Good morning, team. Well, in an email sent out to members, Boy Scout leaders said scouting programs will continue, but they plan to use the Chapter 11 filing to restructure now and compensate victims. And consider this, nearly 8,000 Boy Scout leaders have been accused of sex abuse. Ralph Morse says he's one of those victims. He never reported the alleged abuse he suffered at the hands of his Boy Scout leader, but claims people knew about it.
When you close your eyes, it's still there. It'll never go away.
Ralph Morse was 11 years old when he says Boy Scout leader John Brown began molesting him in rural upstate New York. What were some of your first memories of John Brown?
John Brown was an extremely large man, 6'3", 4", 260 pounds. He always put three of us in the front seat of the car for pizza and soda. And back those days, the stick shift is on the column. So when you're shifting gears, his hand would drop into your lap. Now, this guy's hand was as big as my head. So what am I supposed to do? Jump out of the car? Scream? Run? I mean, it was terrifying.
Morse, now 67, says his older brother Harvey also endured Brown's abuse, prompting both boys to drink.
I ended up dropping out of high school. I ended up going down a spiral in a dark place for 25 years. My brother didn't make it. He died at a relatively young age. From alcoholism because of the abuse.
In a statement, the Boy Scouts of America tells CBS News they barred Brown from the organization when they learned about his actions from law enforcement. And in an email sent overnight, the Boy Scouts acknowledged systematic failures in protecting their members from abuse, while pointing out prevention measures it claims have dramatically reduced those cases in recent years. What does a bankruptcy filing by the Boy Scouts mean to you?
It's an admission of guilt. By filing bankruptcy, you're admitting that in all probability you're going to be liable for these victims, these documented victims, and it's going to cost you a great deal of money.
Now, Morse claims his abuse ended when he stopped showing up to the Boy Scouts, but he believes Brown continued to molest other kids for years. Brown was arrested in the mid-1980s and pleaded guilty to assaulting a minor. And according to a public record, he died back in 97, excuse me.
Yeah, but as Mr. Morse points out, even if the abuse ended when he left the Scouts, the effects of it lingered for
You see that that experience is still with him.
Yeah.
And he says that he spiraled out of control. He wants the Boy Scouts to do more to protect young boys, and even the organization, the national chairman, acknowledges that measures weren't enough to protect children, and he says he's sorry.
But all these years later, you can still feel his pain is palpable.
And that's why he's speaking out.
Very sad.
one of thousands of alleged cases.
Precisely.
Errol.